Welcome back to On This Date. On This Date is a channel where I will discuss past and present murders, disappearances, or anything true crime related. And I just wanted to hop on here today for our weekly Karen update, little updates, or my take on how the trial is going so far. So I figured I would just sit down, film this, and I'm behind because we've had some plumbing issues. It's been a lot. So I just did not get the chance to actually film this because I had another story already filmed, scripted, and ready to go. And my goal was to kind of do both of them together, but it just didn't work out that way because I couldn't end up filming yesterday. The plumbers were here, and it's just life. So sorry if the lighting is not that great. Also, um, looking here, it looks kind of dim, but hopefully, once I upload it, it will be a little bit better. This is more just a quick hop on, and usually I read off my phone, but today I'm just going to read off the laptop and then give you guys a quick update. Um, Nothing fancy, just me and my opinions and kind of what I guess stood out to me. I'm at the point with this Karen Reed retrial that we are hearing a lot of repetitive, and I don't mean repetitive as just all the time, like the same information that we heard in the last trial. It's like, when are we going to hear something new? I guess maybe there's things in the retrial that I may come across and I'm like, oh, I forgot that, or oh, I must have missed that the first trial. I mean, so I guess there is a benefit, obviously, to listening to the whole trial. It's just that I feel like pretty much all of it has been all things that we already know, and we're kind of just watching the same trial play out in a different way and with a different jury. So I know that's how a retrial goes, and that's just where we are with it. So let's give the update. So we had Shannon Burgess, digital forensic analysis. His job was to line up the phone timeline, data information, and sync up the events using the data software. And I'm just going to read from the laptop. Like I said, usually I read from my phone. I just kind of spoke into the laptop and decided to do it this way. This analysis was done on Karen Reed's vehicle data and John O'Keefe's phone. There was a big issue with this 21 to 29 second time difference with the backup maneuver of Karen's vehicle and John O'Keefe's last phone activity. Obviously, with this, the argument comes with that 21 to 29-second difference is that's a difference. That's a big difference. So if John's phone was manually unlocked or used after that 21 or that area, um, that would mean that Karen wouldn't have hit John and he wouldn't have been incapacitated because he then used his phone. So there is a discrepancy there. And if the time syncs up, then obviously, if Karen is said to have hit John and then his phone is no longer active and hasn't been touched since, that would be a pretty big sign that from the time that Karen left John, that John was then incapacitated and laying there slowly dying on the ground. And if there is a time difference, um, well, that means Karen was already back home because we have the Wi-Fi data to show the connection, and so on and so forth. With other ways, it was proven that Karen was home at a set time. Okay, the other issue was with this footage is that it's a whole 24 hours off. And Burgess explains this as it was just simply like an error or a misreporting on his part. However, on cross examination, Alessi obviously is the defense is annoyed with this because, and they're trying to beat home about this 24-hour difference, like showing, well, how accurate or reliable or you submitted wrong evidence into it, and whether it be a mistake or not still means what it means. That's how I took it. But on cross-examination, he also targeted his credibility. So come to find out that um, he actually does not have a bachelor's degree like it states in his LinkedIn profile, his Aperture information, college degrees. And Alessi really hones in on this because he is not, he does not have a bachelor's degree. However, he states he does. when Alessi is asked, did you, how long has it taken you to be in school for this bachelor's degree? Like, how long have you been working toward your bachelor's degree? I'm sorry, I should have worded that better. Um, his answer is 17 years. Really. So in 17 years, you've done all this stuff and been involved in cases and analysis of all kinds of data for a company, but you don't even have a bachelor's degree, and you said you did. So Alessi really honed in on that and kind of destroying or trying to destroy his credibility because of a blatant lie. Alessi also calls into question to try to prove his theory that he's lying and he's not capable of this, that Burgess actually had to submit his resume for another case in like their court proceedings and court filings. Whether that was into evidence, I don't know. It was just part of the court filings. The resume had to be put into that for him because he was testifying. And with that, it says that he graduated in 2024 with a bachelor's degree. So again, more lies, and I could see where he was definitely trying to show that this guy is not reliable, and at minimum he's lied about his qualifications and credentials. So then we had Nicholas Bradford DNA analysis from Bodie Technology, and he testified that he was sent the DNA sample of John O'Keefe's hair and 2 reference samples, a piece of taillight, and a reference profile from the state lab. Nicholas came to his conclusions with these samples that regarding John O'Keefe in the mixture profile, that John O'Keefe could not be excluded from the mixture profile. That was with the 3 profiles. And this is a lot of like mitochondrial DNA. So John can't be excluded because you can't say for certain that the hair came from John's head. It's mitochondrial. So it could be like his mother's, it could be in that. It's not a definitive proof that it is actually John's hair from John's head. So again, the hair could have got there from any one of John's family, I guess would be the argument. Alessi also does this with Carl. I'm going to butcher it. Mayasako, we'll call him Carl. He's another DNA analyst, and on cross-examination, he was asked again, definitively, is this John's hair? Which again, Carl states that there is no way to prove definitively that it is John's hair. It just has mitochondrial DNA. So we heard from the neurosurgeon, and he states that his opinion or medical conclusion would be John's injury to the back of the head only could have came from a linear fall hitting something flat. When this happens, the forward momentum of the head and the brain causes the blacking of the eyes, which we keep hearing about these raccoon eyes. We heard it with the previous testimony in the week prior to that, how he had like the raccoon eyes. And when she was describing John's injuries and John's face, she stated about the 2 black eyes. That is the reasoning that the neurosurgeon gives for the raccooning of the eyes, because it has such force from hitting and then shifting forward again, causing this. With this on cross, he's asked, well, then how would John have got the laceration to his eye? And this is over John's right eye. And again, we learned about this with the previous testimony. Was it the medical examiner? Someone who, I can't remember, out of the 2 women that testified about all the markings on his face, and his injuries on his arms and things like that. So we heard about the laceration on the right eye, and then he's questioned, and obviously falling backwards, doing that to your head does not cause that laceration. So that was asked to him, at which he says, obviously, no. Alessi also questions him about his knowledge as far as working with live brains and dead brains, that he does not examine dead brains, that his specialty is with live brains, which the neurosurgeon kind of comes back with, yes, but he has seen more brains, I guess, than someone who does autopsies, because he is not specialized in autopsies. So unless he tries to bring that up as a way to show, like, again, we have another expert that's not really an expert in that specific field. Yes, he's probably brilliant and he works with live brains. It's just that he doesn't um, specifically do dead brains. And we would have had a better expert come in that was more capable, is what they were kind of trying to get home, is how I took that. We had more discussion about the glass pieces. Sorry if I'm all over the place. I just try to read out my notes in kind of a better way than I have them jotted down here, but then telling you guys. So hopefully it's not like too much. And I keep looking over here at this side thinking this is where the camera is at, but it's really right there. So I'm probably looking the wrong way half the time I'm talking. Moving on. So we have more discussion about the glass pieces that were recovered and being put back together, kind of piecing it together like a puzzle. And they didn't have all the pieces. However, they had enough to say that these pieces came from this glass, the glass from the bar. If you remember, they left with the, John left with that glass out, or Karen. And that's like the whole big argument with these glass pieces being on um, the back of Karen's car, but like, how did they get there? So they talk about the glass pieces that were covered and then talking about how they matched those. And then also talking about the tiny pieces of taillight that were caught in John's sweatshirt. However, the taillight pieces weren't compared against Karen's car. And that's like, to me, you think you would have did that to even further secure your argument. Um, they tested taillight, but it wasn't tested against Karen's. So basically, the conclusion was made because the compound makeup of these particles were, in her opinion or conclusion, I keep saying opinion, but I guess really, that's her medical conclusion, or that's their expert opinion, I should say. Not that she would be a medical professional, just I'm saying, in far as experts, that's her professional opinion. She comes to the conclusion that they are taillight pieces, but again, does not have Karen Reed's taillight to sample. We talked about the glass and how I probably skipped ahead a little bit there, but the glass that was found on the back of Karen's SUV, and then you had the other collection samples. Was it 3? From 34 Fairview Road. So I think there was 3 in total. 2 collections came from Fairview, and 1 collection came from the bumper. I should have checked all that before I did this, huh? Pretty sure. So you had the collections. Now, the glass that they pieced together and matched to be the glass wasn't glass particles that were found on the back of Karen Reed's SUV, because those glass particles don't match anything. Those glass particles were submitted by, you guessed it, to Michael Proctor, and they don't match anything. So, only the samples that Michael came with. The other pieces, they do not match the glass found on Karen's bumper. So this would lead one to believe that Mr. Proctor took a glass, broke it, said he collected it from Karen's taillight or bumper. Maybe he sprinkled it there so people could see it. I don't know. He puts the glass there and then he goes to Fairview and he sprinkles around samples of that glass as well, not knowing in the end that this is going to bite them in the ass and they're actually going to test the glass pieces, which you think as a cop you would be smarter than that. But I'm not going to lie. Yeah, that maybe that was way over his like knowledge of the law, but because that would be crazy. I wouldn't have really put that into perspective, but it's smart because you want to piece together and show that this is the glass that was on the bumper, and then this is the glass that from her hitting him, then flew, hit the ground, now it's at Fairview. It ties the two together. But not with Michael Proctor's evidence, it doesn't tie anything together. Actually, it gives the defense a huge, strong argument because where did this glass come from? Why doesn't it match anything else? And why is Michael Proctor all over it again and Buchanan? So I don't know. again, I know the people who stand on the side that she's guilty, but what are your conclusions to those? Leave in the comments down below. How do you guys that think Karen is guilty, like guilty as far as she hit him, she knows it, that's it? Or I know some people stay in the pool of guilty, like of an accident, but because I know some people think she just cold-blooded killed him, and then we have some that think it was an accident. But I guess either two, accident or just running him over. How do we explain that? So all the little discrepancies and all the little stuff that has went on, if this is actually what happened, why would there be glass planted on that bumper? And if you have also a reason why the glass got there, how if you really think that that's the glass, then I don't know. It's proven it's not the glass. So, what is your explanation or conclusion to that? If you think she's guilty of it, um, if she's not, well, I believe she's not guilty. However, I have always swayed, and I believe she's being framed. But then I always kind of sit in the back of my mind with, was this an accident? Did Karen even realize she hit John? Like, does she not even realize, and she just thinks that this whole time they're trying to frame her for this? Could both things be true at the same time? Um, but why, right? If she was really guilty and ran him over, why didn't they just find his body, call it? Why was all this glass things and just so on and so, like, what was the reasoning for any of that? That part doesn't make sense to me. So I want the people who think that she's guilty, and this is beyond even a reasonable doubt, because to me, for sure, she cannot be convicted. There's too much reasonable doubt. But if you guys think she's guilty, please let me know down in the comments below. How do you explain those things? Just curious. I'm open to hearing all sides of it. Um, I just, if she really hit him, why would they cover it up? So that's like a, I don't want to be stupid and sit here and be like, absolutely not guilty. Like, no way did she do it. Because part of me could see where this could be a very real situation. How you could be arguing with your significant other. They get out, they walk around the back of the car, you hit it in reverse, just arguing, trying to get out of there, and then you hit them. Um, I still don't see Karen just pulling off and leaving John there, especially knowing that there was police there and that would look worse for her. She's a smart, educated woman. I really don't see that. But I don't know. There's a part of me that thought she could have hit him by accident, is more where I could go with it if I felt. I don't think she hit him at all. I think his injuries and I think a lot of other things, minus this glass, lead me to believe she did not hit him um that night at all. And there's just other things for me that help me with that decision. So again, I'm curious to know what you guys think, because you can have two different arguments with people over this case. And if you heard like the prosecution version of it and someone was arguing those points, you could see those points. So people, stand one way or the other, and that's everybody's opinion, and that's what makes the world go round. It's so crazy how us as human beings can watch the same exact thing and be so different on how we perceive it. But that's why we have a jury pool, and that's to make it even, so there's different opinions. And again, if we all thought the same, it'd be a very boring world, I guess. Be a safer world. Well, I guess it's who do we all think alike. Okay. I'm gonna wrap up there because that's all I had, because it was a short week. We know on Tuesday that Judge Bev, she wanted all the jurors to meet with her so she could discuss something with them. She comes into court. I posted it as a short on my video. If you guys are going to go watch that, with her coming into the courtroom, addressing the jury, and asking if she could please speak with them and not to conversate, not to try to guess what the issue was. So yeah, I it's an interesting retrial. Same information, just interesting nonetheless. So I think that's it for today. Go watch my video about Joseph Duncan that I just posted. Um, Also, follow me on my second channel, Counting Steps with Courtney, where I document my journey with my prosthetic leg. And tomorrow I have an appointment for an adjustment with the leg. So fingers crossed, everything works. What else? I'm trying to think. Hope everybody had a good holiday weekend. And let's see. I think that's going to be probably it. Oh, you guys like my sweatshirt? Back when I was a personal assistant for a business, before I moved, we had a customer who would come into one of our locations, and his name was Willie, and he was so sweet, and he was from New York, and he made these clothing items, and he had like a store in New York, and so he made me this like sweatshirts and brought them to me, brought my kids them, and it was a really sweet guy and somebody I really enjoyed seeing in the business. So yeah, I miss there. But now we've moved on and now we're here. So we're in good old Ohio. But that's okay because we can have memories and just that be memories. But when you move to better yourself and better your children and better your environment, I think that's important. I think move is good and I think change is good. And sometimes it's just nice to start fresh in a different area and different people, different cultures, different stores, different restaurants. Um, so yeah, it was a good move. Now I'm rambling. So I'm going to get off of here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. I would say follow me on Instagram and all the platforms, but I'm not very good at those. We're going to work on that. We're going to get good at that TikTok and Instagram thing. I'm just, I don't like Instagram. I'm like a good old Facebook old mom that, yeah. So, all right, guys, I'm going to shut up now. Have a great rest of your day and see you next video.